He left me for a millionaire at a luxury gala, thinking he could have it all. But the revenge I served up, it hit him where it hurt the most: his wallet, his reputation, and everything he thought he could take from me. What happened next? Let's just say, Greenwich will never be the same. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an incredible story like this one. Asterisk, it was a night like any other, or at least, that's what I told myself in the quiet moments before everything changed. The gala was lavish as usual. The kind of event where velvet ropes separate the well-heeled from the rest of us, where champagne flutes clinked in the air like the sound of triumph, and where the scent of expensive perfume mixed with the sharp notes of tuxedoed men and gowned women making small talk over canape trays. As I stepped into the grand ballroom, I felt a slight twinge of discomfort, a nagging doubt creeping up the back of my mind. The bright chandeliers gleamed overhead, casting long shadows on the polished marble floors. My heels clicked on the smooth surface, sharp and deliberate, as though I could walk through the night and forget the turmoil that had been brewing inside me for weeks. My husband Daniel had been distant lately. He was no longer the attentive man who held my hand during our walks in the park or whispered sweet things to me as we watched sunsets. No, now he was constantly buried in his phone or busy with some important meeting, leaving me to play the role of the elegant wife, smiling, laughing, nodding politely, but always feeling the growing gap between us. That evening, however, was meant to be different. It was our chance to reconnect, to get back to the couple we once were. Or so I thought. He had been acting strange at home, distant and preoccupied. His mind seemed to be somewhere else, and I knew deep down that something was off. But it wasn't until that night that the truth would reveal itself in the most devastating way. I slid into the ballroom, my eyes scanning the room for Daniel, but he was nowhere to be found. His absence struck me like a cold gust of wind. It was unlike him to be late, especially for something this important. I tried to push my unease away, telling myself that he was probably chatting with someone in another room, or maybe he was caught up in a conversation with one of his colleagues. But as the minutes ticked by, and my glass of champagne slowly emptied, that nagging feeling grew stronger. That's when I saw her. Her name was Isabel. Tall, impossibly slim, with a smile that could make grown men weak in the knees. She was the type of woman who could grace the covers of magazines without even trying. And there she was, standing beside Daniel, her hand casually resting on his arm, laughing at something he had said. My breath caught in my throat. My stomach churned. They were too close. Too comfortable. It wasn't a moment of realization, but rather a slow, sinking feeling, a premonition that something was terribly wrong. And in that instant, the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. The late nights, the secretive phone calls, the inexplicable changes in his behavior, it all led me to this painful moment. Isabel wasn't just any woman. She was the kind of woman who would turn heads wherever she went. And most importantly, she was the kind of woman who had more than just beauty. She had money, a lot of it. She was a millionaire, a socialite with a reputation for mingling with the wealthiest and most influential people in Greenwich. And there, in the middle of it all, was my husband, Daniel, my once devoted partner, laughing and flirting with her. I stood there, rooted to the spot, unsure of what to do next. My mind was racing, but my body refused to move. The sounds of the gala, laughter, music, and chatter seemed to fade into the background as my focus honed in on the scene before me. I wanted to march over to them, confront them both, but something inside me held me back. Maybe it was the fear of humiliation, or maybe it was the knowledge that deep down, I already knew what was happening. The woman he was with had everything I didn't. And she wasn't shy about flaunting it. I watched them for what felt like an eternity before finally forcing myself to turn away. I needed air. Space to think. I couldn't stand to be in that room anymore. But as I made my way to the balcony, my mind was already spinning, plotting what I would do next. If Daniel thought he could abandon me for a millionaire's life, he had another thing coming. The next few weeks were a blur. After that night at the gala, Daniel and I had barely spoken. He came home late, smelling of perfume that wasn't mine, always with an excuse about work or some last-minute event he had to attend. The silence between us had become unbearable, but I wasn't going to let him think he could get away with it. I had my suspicions confirmed when I found the text messages. They were innocuous at first, just a few words exchanged here and there. But as I scrolled deeper, my heart sank. There it was in black and white. "Can't wait to see you tonight, love. I miss you." I felt a wave of nausea rise in my throat. I had suspected it, but seeing it written out was like a punch to the gut. Daniel was having an affair. And not just any affair, a full-blown relationship with Isabel, the millionaire who could offer him everything he thought I couldn't. I was furious, but more than that, I was hurt. How could he do this to me? How could he betray the life we had built together? The promises we had made? I took a deep breath, steeling myself. If Daniel thought he could just walk away from me and our life together for a life of luxury and excess, he was about to learn a very hard lesson. I wasn't going to play the victim. I wasn't going to sit at home crying and begging him to come back. If he thought he could have it all, money, power, and a glamorous mistress, he had another thing coming. I had a plan, and I was going to make him regret his decision. I wasn't exactly sure what form my revenge would take at first, but as the weeks dragged on and the reality of the situation sank in, it became clear. Daniel had always been a man driven by wealth and status. He thrived on the attention, the power that came with his position in society. What better way to get back at him than to take away the one thing he valued most, money? I started by discreetly pulling strings behind the scenes. My family, while not as wealthy as Isabel's, was influential in its own right. I reached out to some key people, letting them know about Daniel's indiscretions. I wasn't subtle about it. I didn't care if the gossip spread. It was a small price to pay for what was coming next. Soon enough, I had orchestrated a series of events that would shake Daniel to his core. I started by anonymously leaking some of his business dealings to the press, just enough to cast a shadow of doubt on his reputation. Then I began buying up shares in his company, slowly but steadily, until I became one of his largest shareholders. I made sure to make my presence felt at every board meeting, ensuring that he couldn't hide behind the facade of power he had built. It wasn't long before Daniel started noticing the changes. His once secure position at the company began to unravel. Rumors circulated. Clients began to pull their contracts, and suddenly, the luxury lifestyle he had grown so accustomed to started slipping through his fingers. But that was just the beginning. The turning point came one crisp fall morning when I found myself in the same luxurious ballroom where everything had started. This time, however, I wasn't a helpless wife waiting for her husband to notice her. I was in control. Isabel was there too, as she always was at these high-profile events. But today, something had shifted. Daniel looked different, nervous, agitated. He couldn't meet my eyes. I had done it. I had ruined everything he thought he wanted. As I glided past him with a smile, I whispered softly, "Enjoy the view from the top, darling. I hear it's a long way down." His eyes widened in shock as he realized what had happened. The power, the wealth, the life he thought he could have with Isabel. It was slipping away from him. I watched him, a strange satisfaction bubbling up inside me, as he realized how far I'd gone to make him feel the pain of his betrayal. In that moment, I knew that my financial revenge wasn't just about money. It was about reclaiming my power, my dignity, and proving that no one, not even a millionaire socialite, could take that from me. Weeks passed. Daniel's business continued to falter, and the life he had so desperately chased after with Isabel began to crumble. He reached out to me once, a pitiful apology escaping his lips. But I wasn't interested in forgiveness. I had done what I needed to do, and I didn't need him anymore. As for Isabel, I heard whispers that she was moving on too. After all, she had never needed Daniel in the first place. She was a millionaire, used to the game of power and control. But in the end, it was I who had the last laugh.